we're back with Richard Reviews. Today we're reviewing a book for richardreviews.com/GriffinChestnut here on YouTube. Today's book is titled The Windup Girl by Paolo Bacigalupi. This is the same author that gave us The Water Knife, another book that Richard reviewed here on his channel. You can click the link in the description. And this version of The Windup Girl includes a Q&A with the author and the short stories The Calorie Man and Yellow Card Man. This apparently is a Hugo and Nebula award-winning novel, and according to Lev Grossman from Time magazine, it's ridiculous how good this book is. I hope he writes 10 sequels. Well, Richard does not agree with that statement at all. Richard doesn't think that any book deserves 10 sequels. That's a very inappropriate statement. And at that point, when you have 10 sequels, you're ultimately risking the genuine authenticity and substance of the story itself. So, Mr. Lev Grossman, Richard could not disagree with you anymore, unfortunately. And it's apparent that you work for Time magazine, which is also an unfortunate event, since Richard does not subscribe to Time magazine, as it's notably infamous for its depiction of the Boston bomber during a very uneventful and scared time, which was very inappropriate for the masses. This was all during 2014, of course, if you're unaware. And Richard obtained this piece that you see right in front of us also in the year of 2014. Richard read this complete piece in 2014, and he has a lot to say about it. And the first thing he has to say about it, well, actually the second thing compared to this pretty dumb remark by Lev Grossman, is that the praise and all the magnitude and regard that this piece has been receiving, Richard feels is undeserved. Richard does not like this piece. This is a negative piece for Richard. The Windup Girl is a big, full shot. Richard, this is one of Richard's most hated pieces. He feels that the world building of Mr. Bacigalupi actually is pretty impressive, and it's moderately entertaining at the least. As for the story and the rest of what Bacigalupi pretends to admire is an embarrassing format of ridicule and unnecessary introductions to characters we never even meet again. So Richard claims that he would advise Mr. Bacigalupi to go back to editorial school and continue on with his training, considering the fact that this is such a failed piece, and anyone to call this a masterpiece is heavily misguided and probably being bought off by Mr. Bacigalupi himself. As for the good parts of this, the world building, like Richard said, has an appropriate part of it, whereas there is some selective elements that Richard finds that cultivate the wisdom, and it does it in a way that's thoroughly enjoyable through a formidable action. And that's not practically theoretical, that's practically practice. And people are going to talk about this when you're engaging in this piece, and people are going to want to be engaged in the civilization of wisdom. For an example, Richard finds the role of mindfulness and civilization to be almost absent from this piece, which, according to and ironically contradicting the formidable preface of this piece, which, again, it's talking about the meaning and the hunger for it. It's a very sad and unfortunate situation that we have such a pretty large-scale piece on our hands with a very untalented writer Bacigalupi turns out to be. along with this disastrous piece of a turn of events, whereas it's turning the evolution of humanity, more specifically of climate change, to the ultimate message of his piece, which is a very sad notion pertaining to the fact that Mr. Bacigalupi knows nothing of the sort about the historical merit of the crisis we're facing today. So let's take a look at Richard's piece. Regardless of the story, this is Richard's piece, and he will not be keeping it for too much longer. He does not want this piece in his collection. He is going to be getting rid of it in the upcoming month, unsure about where it's going to be sent. If nobody claims it, Richard will be sending this straight to the dumpster. He does not want to support anything about this piece at all. As for the Calorie Man and the Yellow Card Man, the short stories that the Q&A author had involved, Richard claims it's a big waste of time. Nothing meaningful or conscious was brought out by any of these two short stories. In fact, they were extremely forgettable from Richard's point of view. But as we take a look at the piece here, it is a soft cover, so there is some bend. And it is a pretty long piece. Very, very boring. The majority of this is just flat fluff that doesn't need to be in here. But I'd say maybe this much. Maybe this much. Maybe this much is decent. That's it. The rest of this part, all garbage. But nonetheless, the condition, since it is Richard's piece, is once again phenomenal. Richard tracks these pieces down, he obtains them, and he keeps them in very good condition. On the side, we have Paolo Bacigalupi with the unfortunate weak publishing company that got soul-minded into this, and the Windup girl right here. The story of it all. So in the back, of course, we have the undeserving praise for this novel, where you want to change the world, apparently, but what you really want to do, Mr. Bacigalupi, is change yourself, because Richard does not support this piece. This is a very bad piece, and this is one of Richard's most hated pieces out there. And there's good research that's been done by Richard that shows that. They're getting better with these different experiences, as you can see. There's really nothing left to be done with this, and you can tell it's got a very unfortunate inside piece, which can be done as well. We have a price here, which is $16.99 American. Richard would not pay that. He would not pay anything for this piece. So you're just going to have to take Richard's word and not take care of it. It is once again done by the affirmative Mr. Bacigalupi himself, and there it is again with a lot of extra fluff in the middle. A lot of this is garbage. None of it really makes any sense, and there's a lot of dry characters, and not a lot of research and actual work being done. Here he is, Mr. Bacigalupi himself. Richard advises that this man go back to school. There is unfortunately a worldwide generation that are buying and purchasing his books. We do not recommend that you support him because he is very uneducated in the logistics of today. So that's it for The Windup Girl by Paolo Bacigalupi, Bukubalaki. This is an official Richard review. Do not purchase this book. This book will be thrown in the dumpster in a few months after Richard finalizes all of its conspiracies and constitutes the self-deception that has threatened his undermining personable piece from Mr. Paolo Bacigalupi in this apparently god-awful piece. So, 2 thumbs down for The Windup Girl by Paolo Bacigalupi. This is Richard Reviews.